Wait, humans reproduce like that. Can I try too? Adorable aliens question. When humanity finally joined the Galactic Cooperative, nobody expected them to become famous for something so personal. The Galactic Cooperative was old, very old. Thousands of species were members, each one strange in its own way. Some species reproduced by splitting in half. Some grew new bodies from memory crystals. Others simply built children in laboratories and uploaded minds later. To the galaxy, reproduction was usually clean, planned, and efficient. Humans were none of those things. Ziri was a junior xenobiologist from the Luminari species. The Luminari were small, soft-skinned beings with glowing eyes and flexible limbs. They reproduced by growing crystal buds from their backs, which later detached and slowly formed new Luminari. It was painless, quiet, and required no help from anyone else. That was why Ziri loved biology. Everything made sense, until humans arrived. Ziri's job was simple: observe humans, document their biology, and explain it to the cooperative in easy terms. Humans were still new, and many older species did not trust them yet. They were emotional, loud, and confusing, but also creative and stubborn in ways the galaxy had not seen before. Ziri was excited. The first lesson Ziri attended was called Human Life Cycle, an introduction. It took place in a large shared learning chamber. A human educator named Dr. Elaine Morris stood at the front. She looked calm, friendly, and very tired. Ziri floated into a seat near the front, eyes glowing with interest. The lesson began normally. Dr. Morris explained that humans were born small, weak, and unable to care for themselves. This already surprised the room. Many species were born fully able to walk or think. Some were even born as adults. Ziri tilted their head. "So the young humans cannot survive alone?" Ziri asked politely. Dr. Morris smiled. "That's correct. Human children need adults for many years." Murmurs filled the room. Ziri quickly wrote that down. Long dependency period. Strange but interesting. Then the lesson moved on to reproduction. Dr. Morris hesitated before starting this part. She had been warned that this topic caused reactions. Humans reproduce through a biological process involving two adults, she said carefully. Usually, though not always, this happens within a bonded relationship. Ziri raised a limb. "Yes," Dr. Morris said. "What is a bonded relationship?" Ziri asked. Dr. Morris paused. "It's when two humans choose each other. They build trust, emotional connection, and cooperation over time." Ziri blinked. "Before reproduction?" "Yes." That caused more murmurs. Ziri's species did not choose anything. Buds just happened. Dr. Morris continued. She explained that human reproduction involved emotions, responsibility, risk, and choice. That it was deeply tied to culture, family, and long-term care. Ziri's glow brightened with confusion. "So," Ziri said slowly, "humans must like each other first." Dr. Morris laughed softly. "That's one way to say it." Ziri's mind raced. Liking someone was not a biological requirement. It was optional, unstable, illogical. And yet humans had spread across an entire solar system in only a few centuries. The lesson ended with polite applause, but Ziri barely noticed. Their thoughts were spinning. Later that day, Ziri attended an open cultural forum. Humans and aliens shared questions freely there. It was meant to encourage understanding. Ziri had been silent for most of it. Until the end. A senior alien historian was speaking about human adaptability when Dr. Morris returned to the stage for questions. Ziri felt something push upward inside them. Curiosity. Honest, burning curiosity. Before thinking it through, Ziri raised their limb. "Yes," Dr. Morris said again. Ziri stood. "If humans must choose partners," Ziri said, voice gentle and confused, "and if emotions are required, then—" The room grew quiet. Ziri tilted their head in the way that meant deep thought among the Luminari. "Wait," Ziri said slowly, "humans reproduce like that. Some humans smiled nervously. Others covered their faces. Ziri continued, completely innocent. "Can I try too?" Silence. Then the room exploded. Humans choked on drinks. Aliens buzzed, hissed, and clicked. Translation devices struggled to keep up. Someone laughed too loudly. Someone else fainted. Dr. Morris stared at Ziri in horror and amusement. "Oh," she said. "Oh no." Within minutes, the question spread through the station. Clips of the moment were shared across the cooperative. The phrase, "Can I try too?" became a headline everywhere. Ziri had no idea. Ziri was already apologizing. "I am sorry," Ziri said quickly. "I did not mean to offend. I only meant—" Dr. Morris raised a hand. "You didn't offend anyone," she said, still smiling. "You just asked a very human question in a very non-human way." Ziri relaxed slightly. "That is good." "Yes," Dr. Morris said. "Mostly." Later that day, Ziri was summoned by their supervisor, Elder Vesh. Vesh's glow was dim with concern. "You caused a social disturbance," Vesh said gently. "I did not intend to," Ziri replied. "I only wanted to understand." Vesh studied Ziri for a long moment, then Vesh sighed. "That," Vesh said, "is why you are a good xenobiologist." Instead of punishment, Ziri was given a new task. "Observe human family units," Vesh said. "Not reproduction, family." Ziri's eyes lit up. "Yes, Elder." Ziri was assigned to a human residential sector on the station. There, humans lived with partners, children, and even unrelated individuals they called friends. Ziri watched carefully. Humans argued. Humans laughed. Humans grew tired and frustrated, but they stayed together. They helped the weak. They protected the young. One evening, Ziri watched a human parent teach a small child how to walk. The child fell many times. Each time, the parent helped them up. Ziri felt something unfamiliar tighten inside their chest. Why invest so much energy into one small being? Ziri wondered. Efficiency said this was wasteful, but the humans looked happy. Ziri recorded everything. In a private log, Ziri wrote, "Human reproduction is not only biological, it is emotional, social, and long-term. It creates bonds stronger than logic alone. This may explain their resilience." Ziri paused, then added another line. "I still do not fully understand, but I want to." Far away across the galaxy, species laughed at humans. Some called them primitive, some called them reckless. But slowly, quietly, others began to pay attention. Because despite their strange ways, humans survived. And Ziri, the adorable, confused xenobiologist, had just asked the question that would change how the galaxy saw them forever. Ziri did not expect to become famous. But by the next cycle, Ziri's face was everywhere. On information screens, on shared data feeds, on humor channels and serious discussion boards. The short clip of Ziri asking the innocent question had spread across the galactic cooperative faster than any scientific report ever had. Some species laughed, some were confused, some were deeply uncomfortable, and some were quietly curious. Ziri only learned this after waking up to 37 new messages from different departments, all marked urgent. Ziri floated out of their rest chamber, glow dim with worry. "I have done something wrong," Ziri said softly. A human liaison named Marcus Reed was waiting outside. He was tall, calm, and holding a tablet filled with reports. "You didn't do anything wrong," Marcus said. "You just reminded the galaxy that humans are strange." Ziri tilted their head. "Is that bad?" Marcus smiled. "Sometimes, but mostly it's how we survive." Instead of returning Ziri to private research, the cooperative made a new decision. They turned Ziri into an observer. Officially, Ziri was invited to attend open council sessions, cultural panels, and interspecies discussions, always about humans, always about that question. In one council chamber, an insect-like species spoke sharply. "Human reproduction relies on emotion," the representative said. "Emotion is unstable. This makes humans weak." A machine intelligence responded calmly. "Correction." Emotional bonding increases long-term cooperation and survival probability. The room buzzed. Ziri listened carefully, recording everything. Another species, tall and stone-skinned, added, "Humans risk everything for offspring that are helpless for years. Why?" No one answered immediately. Then a human ambassador stood. "Because," she said simply, "we choose to." That answer confused almost everyone. Choice was dangerous. Choice led to mistakes. Many species avoided it whenever possible. Ziri began to understand that humans lived inside uncertainty, not around it. Back in the human sector, Ziri continued observation. Ziri watched human pairs cook meals together, not efficiently, not quietly. They talked, laughed, argued about small things. One burned food and apologized. The other smiled and said it was fine. Ziri recorded, "Humans accept imperfection." Ziri watched groups of humans called friends gather even though they shared no genetic link. They helped each other anyway. Ziri recorded. Humans form non-biological family units. One day, Ziri followed Marcus to a small recreation area. There several human children were playing, running, falling, laughing. Ziri stiffened. "They are unprotected," Ziri said. Marcus nodded. "They're learning." One child tripped and began to cry. Another child stopped playing and helped them stand. Ziri's glow brightened in surprise. "They assist each other without instruction." "That's learned behavior," Marcus said, "but we encourage it." Ziri felt the tight feeling in their chest again. That night, Ziri's supervisor, Elder Vesh, requested a report. Ziri spoke carefully. "Humans are inefficient," Ziri said, "but their inefficiency creates strength. Their emotional bonds prevent social collapse. Their reproduction creates responsibility, not just population." Vesh listened quietly. "And the question you asked," Vesh said. Ziri hesitated. "I think the galaxy misunderstood it." "How so?" "I did not want to copy humans biologically," Ziri said. "I wanted to understand why their way works." Vesh's glow softened. "You may have asked the right question in the wrong way," Vesh said. "Or the right way." Meanwhile, reactions across the galaxy grew stronger. Some species banned human educational materials. Others demanded access. A fast-breeding species called the KR Arctic began suffering population collapse. Their young were born in the thousands, but few survived long-term due to lack of care. A KR Arctic scientist watched Ziri's original clip again. "Humans invest everything into few," the scientist said slowly. "What if that is the solution?" The idea was considered dangerous, but desperation often made dangerous ideas attractive. Ziri was soon contacted by a joint research group. They wanted Ziri to explain humans. Ziri felt fear but also excitement. During the first session, Ziri spoke honestly. "Humans do not reproduce alone," Ziri said. "They reproduce together, and then they stay together, even when it is hard." An alien asked, "Why not leave when it becomes difficult?" Ziri paused. "I asked a human this," Ziri said. "The human said, because someone depends on me." The room went silent. Dependence was weakness, but humans had turned it into strength. Later, Ziri walked alone through the station corridors. Humans waved, some smiled warmly, some joked. One human child pointed at Ziri and said, "That's the alien who asked the funny question." Ziri felt embarrassment and something else. Pride. Ziri updated their private log. "Humans are not powerful because they reproduce differently. They are powerful because they care what happens after." As the cooperative continued to argue, one truth became clear. Humans were no longer being studied as curiosities. They were being studied as examples. Ziri looked at the stars outside the station window. "I still do not want to try human reproduction," Ziri said quietly to no one. Then Ziri added, "But I want to try understanding humans." Far away, the galaxy shifted, not loudly, not suddenly, but enough that history would later mark this moment as the beginning of change. And it all started with one honest question. The problem did not arrive suddenly. It grew. For cycles, the Arctic species had been increasing in number faster than any other known civilization. Their reproduction was fast and automatic. Thousands of young were born at once. Survival was left to chance. For a long time it worked. Then it didn't. Reports reached the Galactic Cooperative of social breakdown, resource loss, and rising instability. Entire Arctic colonies collapsed within a few generations. There were too many young and not enough care. Efficiency had become a weakness. Ziri read the reports with growing concern. Numbers alone did not explain the pain hidden between the lines. The cooperative called an emergency council. Ziri was invited. Ziri sat quietly as species after species spoke. We need better resource control. We need population limits. We need automation. None of it helped. Finally, a Arctic delegate spoke, voice low and tired. We have tried everything, the delegate said. Our children survive birth but not life. The chamber fell silent. Ziri felt that tight feeling again. Slowly, Ziri raised a limb. The council turned. I believe humans may have an answer, Ziri said. Murmurs filled the room. A tall avian species scoffed. Humans are chaotic. Yes, Ziri replied calmly, but they are stable. The humans present remained quiet, letting Ziri speak. Humans limit reproduction naturally, Ziri said. Not by force, by choice, by responsibility. A machine intelligence calculated quickly. Clarify. Human reproduction creates obligation, Ziri said. Once a child exists, it is cared for by many, parents, family, community. The Arctic delegate leaned forward. Our young are many, who would care for them all, Ziri answered honestly. You would care for fewer. Shock spread across the chamber. That is unacceptable, another species said. Less growth means weakness. Ziri shook their head. Humans are not weak, and they grow slower than most of you. The council argued for hours. In the end, desperation won. A limited experiment was approved. A small Arctic colony would attempt something new. They would adopt a human-inspired system, not human biology, human behavior. Ziri was assigned as advisor. So were humans. When Ziri arrived at the colony, the difference was clear. Thousands of young moved without direction. Adults worked constantly but without focus. No bonds, no structure. This is unsustainable, Marcus said quietly. The first change was difficult. Reproduction was paused, not forbidden, but limited. Only pairs who agreed to long-term care were allowed to create offspring. The idea shocked the Arctic. Why choose? Many asked. Because choice creates responsibility, Marcus explained. Training began. Humans taught care practices, emotional awareness, shared duty. Ziri observed closely. At first, failure was common. Some adults abandoned their roles. Some grew tired. Some doubted the system. Ziri worried, but humans did not give up. They encouraged, they corrected, they stayed. One day, Ziri saw something unexpected. A Arctic adult sat beside a single young one, just one. They watched. They waited, they helped. Ziri's glow brightened. Months passed. Survival rates improved, not dramatically, but steadily. The Arctic delegate returned to the council. Our numbers are lower, the delegate said, but our young live. Silence followed. The data spoke clearly. Quality had defeated quantity. Across the galaxy, attention shifted. Other species asked questions. Could emotional bonds be learned? Could care be taught? Humans answered yes. Ziri watched as humans shared what they had never considered special: bedtime stories. Teaching patience, protecting the weak. None of it was advanced technology. It was culture. Ziri realized something important. Humans were not powerful because they were smarter. They were powerful because they refused to abandon each other. One evening, Ziri sat with Dr. Morris. Do humans always succeed? Ziri asked. Dr. Morris smiled sadly. No, but we keep trying. Ziri recorded that sentence. Later, Elder Vesh contacted Ziri. You were right, Vesh said. The question changed everything. Ziri looked at the stars again. I did not mean to, Ziri said. Few who change history ever do, Vesh replied. As the experiment spread, the galaxy faced a new truth. Humans were not an accident, they were a lesson. And Ziri had been brave enough to ask why change did not happen fast, but it happened everywhere. Years passed after the Arctic experiment. At first, only a few species paid attention, then more, then many. Reports showed the same pattern again and again. Lower population growth, higher survival, stronger societies, less collapse. It confused the galaxy. Technology had always been the answer before. Faster systems, better control, stronger laws, but this time the answer was something small: care. Ziri watched all of this from a quiet station office, now older and more experienced. Ziri was no longer a junior xenobiologist. Ziri had become something else, a translator of humanity. Species from across the cooperative requested Ziri's help. Not to learn how humans reproduced, but to learn why humans endured. Ziri always started the same way. Humans do not see children as numbers, Ziri said. They see them as responsibility. Some species accepted this easily. Others resisted. One council meeting grew tense when a powerful species objected. Emotional bonding is inefficient, their leader said. It slows progress. A human ambassador responded calmly. It slows some things, she said, but it strengthens everything else. Ziri watched the exchange carefully. The galaxy was learning what humans had always known. That strength did not always look like power. In a distant system, a water-based species tried human-style family units. In another, a machine civilization introduced caretaker roles for new intelligences. Even species that did not reproduce biologically adopted mentorship systems inspired by humans. The results were always the same: less loss, more stability. Ziri recorded everything. One day, Ziri returned to the same learning chamber where it had all begun. The room was full of young xenobiologists from many species. Ziri stood at the front now. Many cycles ago, Ziri said, I asked a question. Soft laughter moved through the room. Ziri continued. I thought humans were strange. I thought their way made no sense. I asked if I could try. The students leaned forward. I was asking the wrong thing, Ziri said. The question was never about reproduction. Ziri paused. It was about connection. After the lecture, a small alien student approached Ziri. Are humans perfect? The student asked. Ziri smiled gently. No, Ziri said, they fail often. Then why did their way work? Ziri thought carefully. Because when humans fail, Ziri said, they try again together. Meanwhile, humans changed too. They did not become rulers of the galaxy. They did not demand respect, but something shifted. Where humans went, cooperation followed. Where humans settled, communities formed. Other species began inviting humans not for strength but for stability. Humans became known as builders of societies. Late one cycle, Ziri received a message from Elder Vesh. History Committee requests your presence, the message said. Ziri arrived to find a quiet chamber. At its center stood a large archive crystal. We are recording turning points, Vesh said, moments that changed the galaxy. Vesh looked at Ziri. Your question has been listed. Ziri's glow flickered in shock. I did not plan it, Ziri said quickly. Vesh nodded. That is why it matters. They recorded Ziri's story. Not as a joke, not as humor, but as the moment the galaxy stopped laughing and started listening. Later that day, Ziri walked through the human sector one last time. Children played, adults talked. Life moved forward in its messy way. Marcus joined Ziri. You know, Marcus said, humans still laugh about that question. Ziri lowered their glow in embarrassment. Marcus smiled. But we're grateful you asked it. Ziri looked at a human family nearby. A tired parent, a laughing child, a shared meal. I understand now, Ziri said softly. What do you understand? Marcus asked. That humans do not survive because they are strong, Ziri said. They survive because they refuse to face the future alone, Marcus nodded. That sounds like us. Ziri prepared to leave the station soon. A new generation of xenobiologists would take over. Before departure, Ziri recorded a final personal log. Humans taught the galaxy that survival is not only about continuing life, it is about caring what that life becomes. Ziri paused. Then added, I never tried to reproduce like humans, but I tried to understand them. That was enough. Years later, long after Ziri had retired, the question still appeared in history lessons. Wait, humans reproduce like that, but the answer had changed. Yes, and because of that, the galaxy learned how to care.